Unfortunately, the best way to get a casting director's attention is to blow them away at audition or in a show that they've seen you in or a previous project. That's the best way. That's what sticks in a casting director's mind, is seeing your work. It's self-explanatory. It's got to show you in your best light, show you versatile, and make you excited to watch it. There has to be a human story, a human element to the reel that draws you in, that you can make a connection with. Those are the best reels that I've seen, and those are the ones that stick with me, and then those are the people that I'll call later. I remember certain reels for certain people because they specialized, and that stuck in my head as thinking, okay, well, if I ever need this person for this type of work, this is the person I would go to. There's no such thing as a perfect audition. I've been blown away multiple times. In terms of an audition, this is you just swing for the rafters every time. I think you try and get that home run. This is what you need to realize first and foremost. You might have heard this, you might not have. I'll repeat it happily. The casting director is rooting for each and every person to come in there and hit a grand slam home run. Every single actor that gets in front of me, I want them to be brilliant. I want that. I don't need you to be causing a ruckus in the room outside while I'm there. Be calm, center yourself, find where the character is. Don't scream your lines and practice outside. It's disconcerting to the other actors. Show some professional respect to your fellow actors, and don't do that. It just comes off as showy and cheesy too. If you're doing your lines very loud and going off and things like that. If a trained actor doesn't need to do that. Ever, ever, ever be late. No show. Don't lie in a headshot. Don't lie about your weight. Don't lie about your height. These are important things we need to know. If I need somebody, for instance, who has to be slim, and you show up and you're not, by any stretch of the imagination, you've just wasted my time. Don't ever ask the casting director if you got the part or not. Trust me, if you get the part, we will do everything in our power to call you and let you know. You can be that actor with the accent, but in order to really progress in America, you need to find the standard American accent. I was working with an Irish actor past summer. Great actor. And he's Irish. And he moved here, 3 years ago. The entire time on the shoot, he stayed in character dialect-wise. And then later on, I went to visit him at his bar. He was a bartender, so I went to visit him at his bar after the shoot, and he was just talking his normal self, and I couldn't believe it. And so I asked him, why did you do that? And he's like, well, my character doesn't speak with an Irish accent, so while I'm there, I don't speak. And he's like, it helps me keep it the whole time. And I thought that was extraordinary, and that was dedication. Be as prepared as possible. If I sent you the sides the night before, be as off book as possible. Know what you're doing. Make some choices. Dress as the character would in your mind as well. That helps. But I don't need wigs or fake beards or anything like that, or dye your hair or anything like that. But, create the scene as much as you can. That helps me. I like when actors make choices. I like when they go for something and make a choice. If you're too broad, usually that doesn't work. But if they go specific, it's a risk. The risk can fail, but the risk also can succeed. You don't get anywhere without taking some risks. So if you take risks in an audition, at the very least, you might not be right for it, but I will remember that you took a risk. You learn from every mistake you make. I'm a firm believer of. So if you risk something and don't succeed, that's a mistake, but that's also a great learning experience. And that's something. Listen, great actors, fantastic actors, my best friends have fallen down flat on their face in front of me. It's tough, and I cringe for them when it happens. But they learn from it, and then later on, the next audition, they come and just hit it out of the park. One of the best audition stories I have is about Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I was reading about casting directors when I got in the business, and there was this one casting story where the casting director of Fast Times at Ridgemont High brought in Sean Penn for the role of Jeff Spicoli. And he was awful. I mean, he stank up the room. The director was looking at her like, what did you bring in? So she went outside and she talked to Sean. She's like, Sean, listen, I've seen you before. I know you're better than this. Why don't you take the day and really focus and work on this, and then come in at the end when everyone else is left? Is that cool? He's like, absolutely. So he just really worked at it and went at it. And when he came back in, he was brilliant and blew away every other competition for it. So, and then he went on to be Jeff Spicoli, which is one of the greatest characters of '80s cinema. Was that? I mean, it's iconic, and he did a great job, and he became Sean Penn from that. That was his breakout performance. So it's okay to make a mistake. We understand that you make mistakes. We don't want you to, though. We want you to be brilliant all the time, but you can't be. There are certain things you can do to get you to be better, and one of them is audition as much as possible, so you get comfortable doing it. I would say this: I'm a big fan of the unions. Support the unions. A creative business without unions would be awful. The corporations would be screwing you left to right. That being said, when you do join the union, this is what happens. You are a little fish that is instantly going into a big pond full of sharks. These people have been in the business for years and years and years. They're sharp, they're hungry, and they know what they're doing. So you need to be prepared for that. The best way to be prepared for that is to have an agent who's willing to work hard for you. If you do not have an agent that gets the breakdowns, that sees all the auditions coming in, and you become union, you're shut out of a lot of things. You don't know what's happening unless somehow you're getting the breakdowns illegally or whatever. You don't hear about these auditions, so there's no one to submit you. And then you can't do non-union, which you can find out about. So it's you. There has been a lot of my talent that have become union without agents, and have just not worked at all. At all. So I would say, if you don't have an agent and you're thinking about becoming union, I would not join the unions until they force you to. Once they force you to, that's it. You got to join. But I would say hold it off for as long as possible. Some of your best work in your early career will be done in non-union stuff, and also that's a great way, if you don't have a reel, to build a reel, is to do these independent films, these student films, these indie TV shows or web shows, things like that. You can get some great stuff. A lot of comedy things are non-union. And people are streaming their comedy stuff over the internet and stuff, and there's great bits. I don't think Funny or Die, College Humor, if you're a comedian, I think these sites, I'm not sure, but I think they're non-union. So, and they've got great bits from it. You make me laugh, I'm going to remember that. I like laughing. So if you have a great bit from Funny or Die and you put that in your reel, that's awesome. I was casting for a project where they wanted unique looking people. They didn't want just your typical beautiful looking people. Now there was some actors that have been working with me for a better part of 2 years. They've worked for free for me on my friends' projects. They've worked in snow, sleet, wind, rain, horrible conditions, bad food on set. They were getting treated like crap on set. These are people that have been with me just and never complained, and they're character actors. They're not your standard beautiful people. They're character actors, and they finally got cast in a bunch of them. All got picked in these main roles as the stars of this commercial. And when I called them up to let them know they got the main role, and these are people that don't get main roles, and hearing their voices and them happy and everything, you could have offered me $100 million or that feeling, and I would have gladly taken that feeling. Just giving these people main jobs and hearing the joy in their voice. These are artists so used to rejection, especially more so with how they are perceived, their types. So when they finally got picked for themselves, to be themselves in a main part, that was great. That was my best time in this business. And I managed to work as I got on the production side on that job, so I could be with them that day on set. So I was working as a production assistant that day on set with them, and got to hang out with them and see them all be stars. It was great. This business is a lot of who you know, so relationships is a big part of it. Maintain good relationships. You'd be surprised where you can get jobs. You could know a grip, for instance, and a grip can always hand on your resume to someone or call somebody. You have no idea. Directors, other actors are a huge source for referrals. Many, many actors and actresses have submitted other actors to me. So it is a big business of who you know. Maintain good relationships. You can't act in a bubble and not know anyone. This city, this community, it's a living, breathing community where people deal with each other on a regular basis. And you need to realize that, respect that, and frankly, enjoy it. That's one of the best things about this business, is it is a community full of like-minded, in many cases, artists that are great people and bring joy and happiness and great things into each other's lives. So, that's one of the best things about being an actor, is joining the community. So get in there, get in that community.